Hello everybody, this is Mautico, and I am with my friend once more, Mr. Punk. And today we will be talking about our two favorite albums and why we like them so much. So, Mr. Punk, what is your all-time favorite album?
My favorite album would probably have to be Led Zeppelin 4 from 1973. It was their first album by the English hard rock and some say metal band Led Zeppelin, and it is one of their most famous. I consider it a masterpiece on many levels. Now, before we get into why, what is your favorite band, Mr. Mayotico?
Well, my favorite band is the Beatles, and my favorite album would be Revolver, released in 1966. And it was a very inspirational album, especially for Pink Floyd, I believe in the Barrett era. Am I correct?
Yes, that was what inspired the Barrett era.
Yes, and in the magazine as well, I believe that Mr. Punk read that it was said that it was the best album of all time, which I completely agree with, obviously. And let's explain why.
Okay, well, the reason why I would like this is because I love Led Zeppelin. They're my second favorite band, and they have my favorite bass player, my favorite drummer, and my favorite guitarist. So automatically that would boost them. But another reason why this album is so great is I love how it switches to how it has a lot of genres. You know, you go from a rock song, you could go from a rock song like a hard rock song, like let's say Black Dog, to a folk song like Stairway to Heaven, which switches to hard rock, and of course Stairway to Heaven is legendary. And then you have Rock and Roll, which features one of my favorite opening drum solos, and I think it's overall a great song, and everyone knows Black Dog is a classic, and that Stairway to Heaven is deemed one of the greatest songs ever. It's great lyrically, everything about it is good, and I also like the mystery the album presents. The album already has a lot of mystery considering, you know, at the time everyone was wondering if Led Zeppelin were devil worshippers and stuff. And there were rumored that there were hidden satanic messages on this album, including in Stairway to Heaven. And all that mystery was also topped by the fact that this album is untitled, and the mysterious cover of a man carrying a bundle of sticks I always thought looked very mystic and looked very cool, and I actually have it as my desktop background.
Well,
And I
cool.
just love this. And why do you think, what's your opinion on Revolver?
Well, Revolver is a very great album. Most people say it's the start of the Beatles' psychedelic era, which would be true if you don't count Rubber Soul, which was more of an in-between the mop-top era and the psychedelic era, with more folk-type music. So, and just like you said about how you liked Led Zeppelin 4 because of its change between genres, it's kind of like how Revolver changes from a pop rock song to a orchestra song like Taxman to Eleanor Rigby, and it's very versatile because you could go from an orchestra song to a childish pop song, Yellow Submarine, to another orchestrated song, Got to Get You Into My Life, which is a great song, a more orchestrated pop song, I must say, and it also includes my favorite guitarist, George Harrison. And George Harrison was, you know, a great guitarist, and his solo career was also very successful, and it was just great. And also, the album cover, it was illustrated very detailed, and all these little, you know, little flashbacks to the Beatles' past. It was very creative. It was very creative.
What is your favorite song on the album?
My favorite song on the album probably have to be She Said, She Said.
And why is that?
It goes to the Beatles' more psychedelic or hard rock songs. Because She Said, She Said was inspired by the Byrds and the Beatles having an LSD trip together. And it also has a very deep psychedelic meaning, which I really like. And also, the guitars here are very good. Are very great. It's just great. The climax of the song just makes you feel very easy and in place, while still maintaining to have a psychedelic hard rock feel.
Well, I would say that Revolver is a good album. But I would say my favorite song on Led Zeppelin 4 would have to be Rock and Roll. 'Cause that is one of the many instances when I think they can play their music perfectly. John Bonham really displays his drum in what seems like such a simple and what is such a short drum beat in the beginning. I love the guitar. I find the lyrics catchy. And the song, I just find the song very good. And I think Robert Plant really displays the definition of a energetic and good vocalist in this song. So my second favorite would have to be Stairway to Heaven, of course, because it is just a very mysterious, a very good, a very just an amazing song. But in my opinion, all of these songs are good, just like the Battle of Evermore, which describes, of course, a battle in a folk medieval type manner, which I always like. What would be another one of your favorite songs?
Probably I Want to Tell You by George Harrison, because this strays away from his, before this, his usual pop songs. This is more of a pop rock song, and the song George Harrison sings very well in this song, and it's one of his most versatile songs. So you also have the Beatles having more than one instrument being used here. Like, George Harrison did the lead guitar and also hand claps, Paul McCartney with the piano, the bass, and the hand claps, John Lennon with the tambourine, maracas, and hand claps, and Ringo Starr with drums and more hand claps. And overall, it just is a very good song.
Well, thank you for that. Now, I must say, have you listened to Led Zeppelin 4?
I have listened to only Stairway to Heaven. You know that I don't listen to much Led Zeppelin. So, I might listen to Rock and Roll and Black Dog and see how it's like. And since I already know you've heard Revolver, I guess you don't really have to do that.
Well, yes, I've heard it, and I think it's a good album, but not a great. My personal favorite Beatles album will always be the White Album.
Yeah, it's probably the most versatile album.
So, well, that was music discussions. This is album discussions with Mr. Punk and Mayo Tico, as always. Have a great day, everybody.
Goodbye to you too.